what does it signify when one of the most stunning regions in America also bears one of the harshest marks of destitution and exile? Honolulu, the capital of Hawaii, is frequently depicted as a heaven azure sea's opulent hotels and a way of life that many citizens can merely imagine. However, under this facade exists a grim truth, an escalating disaster of homeless in America that has become unavoidable to overlook. For decades, the islands have sustained the peak levels of unhoused residents per person in the United States, and Honolulu remains at the heart of it. The narrative occurring here is not just regarding shelters along the coasts or colonies beside roads. It is a narrative regarding the spirit of America, regarding whether a nation as prosperous as ours can permit its people to exist without housing. Honolulu's contradiction: wealth, beauty, and destitution. The recent 2024 count found 494 unhoused individuals on the island of Oahu, encompassing Honolulu, an alarming statistic. This marks a 12% rise from the 2023 figures. For a place that has long grappled with elevated numbers, such an increase is profoundly disturbing. Even more striking, nearly 62% of these persons were unsheltered, resting in makeshift camps, temporary structures, or directly on sidewalks. This means approximately 2 out of 3 individuals surveyed lacked a ceiling, a stable cot, or any official refuge.
I'd say housing crisis, not a lot of people have control over what's going on. It's very high priced here. Hawaii is very hard to catch a living if you're not staying with your family. You don't have really many places to go.
Could be, and in a way, I choose to be out here because it's kind of expensive. I can't afford it.
For many observers, seeing these figures climb, the question remains: how can a municipality so recognized for affluence tourism and scenic beauty simultaneously bear this devastating conflict? Part of the explanation lies in the fact that Honolulu's housing crisis has been steadily worsening since 2010, with the population living outdoors nearly doubling over the last decade. It is not an isolated disaster. It reflects the wider struggle of being homeless in America, where cities across the continental US have confronted the same escalating trend: San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, and now Honolulu, all part of a larger shared reality.
You can't sit and lie on the sidewalk. You used to be able to. You'd wake up in the morning, you'd walk down Waikiki, you'd have to step over bodies, laying all over the sidewalk. That's when they made the law. You can't lay on the sidewalk.
What distinguishes Honolulu, however, is the severity of the problem. Beyond being one of the nation's most costly housing markets, the city faces deep-seated issues that amplify every challenge. Shelters are full. Essential public services are overburdened. And despite governmental efforts to boost temporary shelter options, the magnitude of the predicament frequently outstrips the available capacity. This goes beyond a handful of people being overlooked. It represents a systemic failing one that leaves thousands living without the fundamental dignity of a permanent residence. As evening falls over, Waikiki visitors return to their accommodations. While just a short distance away, families settle into tents for another evening devoid of security. The dichotomy is so striking, it becomes heartbreaking. Can a city sustain such a gap luxury resorts alongside sprawling settlements without questioning its ethical grounding? Identifying the most at-risk populations. Destitution throughout Honolulu does not impact all demographics equally. Particular groups remain much more vulnerable to these hazards, influenced by financial struggle prejudice and precarious well-being. Senior citizens represent a rapidly expanding sector. Within a single year, the percentage of unhoused persons over 60 surged from 8% to 22%. For aging residents, once security vanishes, reclaiming it becomes almost unreachable. Resting outside in one's 70s is not merely degrading, but hazardous. Mr. Tanaka, a 71-year-old retired watchman, lost his residence when leasing costs exceeded his static earnings. Today, he rests beside Ala Moana Beach Park, depending on gifted food. "I laboured my whole life," he states softly, "yet here I stay." His narrative illustrates the breakdown of social protections once considered reliable. Indigenous Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders similarly carry an unequal weight. Eras of disparity and the heritage of imperialism have left numerous households without steady prospects. Settlements like Pu'uhonua o Waianae, mostly native Hawaiian, represent both fortitude and hopelessness. Leilani, a youthful parent of 2, relocated there after her owner hiked rent by 40%. Inside the group, she has discovered protection and unity. Yet, she still envisions rooms for her offspring and the pride of a lasting residence. Persons existing with impairments and psychological disorders face comparable hardships. Roughly 62% of Honolulu's unhoused declare at least one impairment, and nearly 30% exist with serious psychiatric conditions. Lacking consistent medical care, they rotate between clinics, refugees, and sidewalks, not by preference, but because durable remedies remain inaccessible. Lastly, households with offspring are an ever more noticeable aspect of the disaster. Many reside in vehicles or shelters attempting to maintain routine despite perpetual precariousness. For the youths themselves, the ordeal fractures schooling, wellness and growth, creating wounds that might persist for decades. These accounts expose a distressing reality: being homeless in America. And Honolulu affects the seniors, the native, the impaired, and the youth alike. It permeates across the population, compelling us to inquire who is genuinely protected from this emergency and how many others will descend before significant transformation starts. The impact of substance dependency. Any analysis regarding destitution within Honolulu must acknowledge the impact of chemical dependency. Across the country, addiction remains both a catalyst and a result of street existence, and Honolulu follows suit. Methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl serve as primary factors in the everyday lives of numerous unsheltered people. For certain individuals, narcotic use led straight to their displacement via the collapse of household bonds, unemployment, or judicial difficulties. For others, the slide into dependency occurred after losing housing, as substances provided fleeting comfort from crushing stress trauma or bodily agony. The loop is unforgiving dependency intensifies volatility. Volatility aggravates dependency, and both render rehabilitation more difficult. Outreach workers in Honolulu indicate that fentanyl has increased the peril, significantly transforming camps into areas of overdose danger and straining emergency personnel to their maximum capacity. The issue is not merely clinical, but also communal. People who battle chemical dependency frequently encounter severe shame, making it tougher for them to secure facility beds or utilize healing initiatives. In various instances, regulations themselves build hurdles with refugees, demanding abstinence as a requirement for admission, essentially shutting out those who require assistance the most. What therefore is the path ahead? Throughout the continent, certain municipalities have started implementing risk mitigation strategies, supervised locations, syringe swaps and clinical treatments intended to decrease instant damage while creating paths to wellness. Honolulu, with its distinct terrain and close-knit circles, encounters both obstacles and possibilities in this area. If dependency persists in being handled strictly as a felony or ethical deficiency, the disaster will not merely continue, but intensify. However, if it is treated as a healthcare concern, one linked with housing instability, the region might discover a route toward restoration. This is not merely a matter of regulation. It is also a query of empathy. When we discuss the homeless in America, are we prepared to view those fighting dependency as humans first, as residents in distress, rather than as issues to be cleared? Honolulu's narrative implies that the response to that inquiry will decide the direction of the total emergency. Forced relocation and the cycle of displacement. Honolulu's leadership, similar to various other US municipalities, has often utilized settlement removals to manage conspicuous destitution. These interventions are described as community protection efforts intended for purging walkways, gardens, and commercial zones of pavilions and temporary residences. However, the actual experience of these maneuvers relates a contrasting tale. When municipal staff and officers appear to tear down a camp, they are not just taking away transient buildings, they are shattering delicate webs of endurance. Private possessions are frequently misplaced, prescriptions are thrown away, and communal bonds inside the settlement are severed. Detractors maintain that removals are not a remedy, but a type of relocation. They shove individuals from one section of the town to another without providing durable options. In Honolulu, where communal lands are scarce and exposure is elevated, this sequence recurs repeatedly. Settlements might vanish from central roads for several days, yet they resurface in distant spots beside shores beneath overpasses or within residential districts. The issue does not dissipate. It merely changes geography. Furthermore, removals can damage confidence between the unhoused demographic and aid organisations. For persons already suspicious of power, the demolition of their housing reinforces a belief that the framework exists not for support, but for discipline. Support staff then encounter a tougher mission, persuading individuals to pursue refuge or therapy. This prompts a vital inquiry: is the objective to conceal indigence from societal sight, or is it to truly terminate it? In Honolulu, as in numerous other regions of the land, the frequent application of removals implies that appearances often overshadow results. For legislators, the urge to preserve a visitor-attractive aesthetic is enormous. But for those residing in the settlements, these removals signify a repeating loop of distress and volatility. If Honolulu aims to map a separate path, it must wonder if honour and kindness can be positioned at the core of its reaction. Helping the homeless in America requires looking past the visible and addressing the human cost. Financial hurdles and the weight of everyday existence. At the foundation of Honolulu's emergency exists a harsh fiscal reality. The expense of residency in Hawaii ranks among the loftiest in the country. Shelter specifically is immensely costly. The typical property valuation remains near $750 or $800, well outside the grasp of most blue-collar households. tenants do not succeed much better with mean monthly leasing rates climbing quicker than earnings. Past residency, the daily expenses for nutrition power and transit also press heavily. Hawaii's remoteness dictates that products are brought in frequently at hiked up valuations. Provisions cost approximately 50% higher than the countrywide mean. Power and gasoline are likewise inflated. For those surviving week to week, even a minor clinical invoice or unemployment can shove them past the brink into destitution. This explains why Honolulu's disaster cannot be detached from the wider fiscal environment of Hawaii. Unlike certain municipalities, where indigence might be mainly linked to narcotic dependency or psychological disorders in Honolulu, it is equally fueled by costliness. Households with regular jobs still discover themselves residing in vehicles because their paychecks cannot meet rent. Educators, hospitality staff, and even medical assistants. Careers that maintain community stability are occasionally priced out of secure dwellings. This situation emphasizes a distressing contradiction. While Honolulu prospers from travel income, with guests paying billions yearly, the laborers who support that sector frequently cannot manage the residences neighboring the resorts they maintain. Lacking bold funding for low-cost developments, the divide between those who can reside peacefully in Honolulu and those pushed onto sidewalks will persist in growing. In fact, the costliness disaster is not exclusive to Hawaii. It constitutes part of the wider struggle of being homeless in America. Yet, in Honolulu, the ferocity of the property market renders the results particularly severe. Public policy responses and their constraints. Regional and state authorities in Honolulu have not remained passive regarding this emergency. In past years, the municipality has tested diverse strategies ranging from micro-house clusters to cowhale settlements, and from bolstered refuge networks to permanent supportive housing PSH. Each of these holds both potential and drawbacks, and the insights gained elsewhere across the United States offer a blueprint for what Honolulu might accomplish if it decides intelligently. Microhouses, for example, have been utilized rapidly as an urgent tactic. They provide solitude and protection, a transition away from the hazards of sidewalk existence. However, without dependable utilities like plumbing power and hygiene, these locations risk functioning as fleeting patches rather than enduring remedies. Certain Honolulu initiatives have encountered maintenance expenses topping $8,000 per inhabitant every month, much higher than more inclusive residential paths. The takeaway is obvious urgency is beneficial, but longevity must not be neglected. The cowhale framework, which constructs small town-like circles, has displayed more potential. These colonies highlight social ties and shared accountability, providing inhabitants not just refuge, but also a revived feeling of inclusion. Honolulu has pledged to grow cowhale locations, desiring to produce choices that resemble districts more than facilities. Comparable designs in Oregon and California indicate that when inhabitants receive autonomy and fellowship, the results are much more consistent. Nonetheless, permanent supportive housing stays the premier benchmark. By merging low-cost living with comprehensive assistance like medicine psychiatric therapy and dependency rehabilitation, PSH addresses the primary triggers of chronic indigence. The data from various municipalities are impressive. In Seattle, for instance, the launch of broad PSH initiatives assisted in lowering chronic indigence by almost 30% during a 5-year span. the enduring reductions in medical and policing expenses were significant, greatly exceeding the initial funding. Honolulu could internalize this insight. Courageous expenditure today might produce not just equilibrium for thousands, but fiscal comfort for the municipality eventually. Regardless of these attempts, Honolulu encounters major hurdles: restricted territory, astronomical property valuations, land use laws, and local resistance. And while officials talk with empathy, the persistent use of settlement removals uncovers a friction between rhetoric and behaviour. The town currently sits at a junction. Will it persist in favouring transient expensive fixes, or will it gather the civic bravery to dedicate entirely to housing-first tactics? The choice will define Honolulu's path for generations. Understanding the homeless in America requires recognizing that policy is often a reflection of a city's deepest priorities. An individual viewpoint. Following 20 years of researching the homeless in America, I view Honolulu's emergency with both sadness and desperation. I have moved through settlements where households share food, prepared over improvised burners, where seniors rest under plastics, attempting to protect themselves from the downpour, and where youths lean over workbooks by the glow of a tiny torch. These are not fleeting glimpses. They are everyday truths for thousands of individuals. The inquiry facing us is not whether we can manage to react, but whether we can manage not to. Each year of passivity pushes the disaster, further increasing expenses for clinics, police, and welfare departments, while damaging societal confidence. Honolulu's breathtaking charm only intensifies the disparity, rendering the misery all the more apparent. However, that prominence also generates a possibility: the opening to guide, to demonstrate that even a municipality reliant on travel can adopt mercy and make courageous outlays in residency and wellness. Nevertheless, alertness is necessary. Frequently, regulations have been crafted to defend optics rather than resolve fundamental issues. Purging settlements to maintain the facade of a tidy town, or constructing refugees without holistic assistance are tactics of procrastination. They shift persons out of view, but not out of hardship. Genuine advancement necessitates bravery. Bravery to proclaim shelter a fundamental entitlement to construct low-cost apartments, even in wealthy districts, and to perceive every unhoused person as a resident, not a weight. And here, the function of the public cannot be ignored. Initiatives and financing are important, but permanent transformation will arrive only when neighbours themselves adopt mutual accountability. Religious organisations, district groups, academies, and local firms all possess the influence to transform tradition. When a city's residents unite requesting honour and empathy for their peers, legislation will comply. The struggle is rousing that communal obligation before the emergency expands beyond restoration. Conclusion. Honolulu's housing emergency serves as a grim memento of the wider homeless in America battle regarding indigence and relocation, framed by the scenery of a heaven. Escalating property prices, dependency, and institutional injustices drive this calamity. Yet the strength of groups such as Pu'uhonua o Waianae remains evident. Honolulu encounters a decision: handle this as a pressing disaster, or allow it to characterize the region's destiny. True transformation requires housing prioritized remedies, low-cost residences, and empathetic support. Destitution is not unavoidable. It is a complication we can fix. Go to www.hawaiihelps.org to assist regional initiatives and enter the struggle for honour and dwellings for everyone.